Ashwatthama alone left to be eternal, in spite of all his wrongdoings. Why that entity is eternal?
See, the reason why entities are eternal is because whereas even our religion or any other religion in this world is concerned, the good and the bad is eternal.
Mm,
it is it's not only that the good is eternal, no, it
mm,
is the bad is equally eternal. You will find that when the Vardhan was given,
mm.
if you see in the stories where uh, they were doing the churning of the ocean, you have seen that?
Yeah.
They were churning the ocean. So when the ocean was getting churned, the Amrita came out of that.
Mm,
Hmm? So
yeah.
when Amrita came out of this, uh, all the gods drank it,
Mm,
correct?
yes.
And they drank it by means of what is called as a deceit. Uh, Mohini, the avatar of Vishnu, gave this to all the gods and finished it off. Then, how are the asuras supposed to get benefit? Now, the asuras are left with nothing, isn't it? So, their guru, Shukracharya, was given a special vardhan wherein he could revive anybody. He could revive anybody even if they are dead. That means if they are about to die also, he could revive them. So he was giving this Sanjeevani, basically a magic potion or magic mantra which could revive a person. So you will find that even the asuras don't have what is called as death. They are also eternal. The devas is also eternal. Only people who are non-eternal are human beings. Poor fellows have to keep on getting born and dying again and again and again. Now, both the top and the bottom, they don't have any karma to perform per se, so they are left out. But the human beings have the choice of performing karma, getting out of it, going towards liberation, overriding the two worlds, or doing whatever is required in this life. So this life has been given. One moment, Guru is online. Now, where is okay. So you will find that these people have also been given this Vardhan by the Lord himself, so that they could come back to life. There is no death for these people. All right. So eternally, the gods and the demons both can be alive. So Ashwatthama basically never was from any category as such, but these are 10 eternal beings who are always going to be present in this material world. That includes Narad Muni, Hanumanji, all these are there. Ashwatthama is also there. Parshuram is also there. They represent certain energy centers. Okay. They represent energy centers, they represent a certain form of uh, powers, like say for example Narad Muni would be considered more like, if he was called a Dev Rishi, if you know that, and he could traverse any place top to bottom. I explained it last time. So coming back to, now, there was one question which Raj had asked last week. So I told her that I will tell her this week. Okay. because by this time 1 week's cogitation must have happened, some little churning must have happened, or maybe the milk got over. Is it? No churning. Ah, okay. Please come up with questions. It is better. So the Arjuna, basically, we are talking of this great Maharathi Arjuna, he is a great soldier. He goes on to become the commander in chief of Yudhishthir's army. Okay, Yudhishthir becomes the king. It was mentioned last time also that he becomes the king, and he has taken over the kingdom. And Arjuna is the commander in chief. So Arjuna's job is always to keep on looking for expanding the empire. So he keeps on going at different places. Now, in our being, if again if we go by the last week's verses that we did, there was a mention where it is said that uh, Uttara goes to Krishna and says to him that please kindly save my child who is there within me. So he creates a shield. Okay. Now this child is going to be responsible for getting us the stories of Krishna's various births that have happened. Hmm? Krishna's various births that have happened now. So far, I think we have done 20 of them, if I'm not mistaken. 20, isn't it? So yeah, you can't call them escapades because even Narad Muni and all, Narad Muni is there. Even there are other people who are going to be less important, but we have to do that. So you will come across those stories also. So those are the various forms that he has to take. The various forms that are representing from top to bottom in our own world. Like I explained, there are three things that happen. One is the divine domains, second one is inside of us, and the third one is on this earthly plane. A similar story happens. Now, what we are reading is something that has happened on the earthly plane. Hmm? But in the divine realm also, it's a similar story is happening. It's like the projection, from here to there. It's literally like simultaneously things are happening. Now, this lady, whose child it is that we are going to talk about, she represents the northward movement in our body, the northward movement in our body. Means in our being when we want to reach the domain of gods, to understand how they function and so on and so forth, we require this something which is going to pull us upwards. Parikshit is her son. He is the person who is going to help us get to the stories of the Lord. His life is terminal. Please understand, his life is terminal. Terminal means he has been given the shrap of death only, isn't it? So, understand that every human being has this thing in them that their life is going to be ending. But the choice is within us. Whether we can reach the level of God, that means whether we can cross over, reach Brahma, self-realization, God, Krishna, or whatever that you want to. Got it? The easiest path mentioned over here, the easiest path, if you see in the last few days that we were doing it, the easiest path mentioned over here is the path of devotion. You don't need anything else, and that is why the introduction of first character introduced over there was Narad Muni himself. He is the master of devotion. You don't have to know anything else from anybody. If you remember, we have done one very beautiful text which is called Narad Bhakti Sutra. Remember? So Narad Bhakti Sutra is his treatise on how to reach the divine through the path of devotion. He is the highest guru in that. So there is nobody else who can tell you better than him how devotion can be the path to God. Alright? So this human being, like what we are talking about, is Parikshit. He is going to be helping us to reach the divine through the path of devotion with the help of the different stories of the Lord. Yet his life is terminal. That means our life is always going to end. Please understand this. There is no way in which it is going to continue. We have to. Death is a part and parcel of our life. Correct? So because death is terminal, so we have to go towards our end. Do you remember how? I don't know. We have not yet come to the story. I don't want to preempt it. But do you know why? What is it that he does? Does anybody know what he does actually?
Who?
Parikshit?
Oh, Parikshit.
He
Yeah,
does
he puts
put the snake on the sage.
The dead snake.
The dead snake, yeah.
and he gets cursed.
Yes.
By sage's son.
Correct. The dead snake, again, there is a mention over there of the dead snake. You will find that the pathway, just one of you has to mute the microphone. The pathway towards reaching the top is we are trying to reach towards what is called as the path towards realization, path towards enlightenment, whatever, Brahma, so on and so forth. Even in our body, we use this divine energy within us, which we call as Kundalini. Okay? It is always represented by a snake. It's called like a coiled serpent. We have also done one beautiful text which was called Anugita and one is Uttara Gita. We have done two texts actually. One is a very tiny book, and one is Uttar Gita. So there are two more Gitas that we have finished. In that, Krishna is giving the last lesson to Arjuna, which is nothing but Kundalini Yoga. If you remember, we have done it some time back. So the snake representation will be throughout, so don't worry about it. It's always going to be there. Alright, so now we will, is there any more questions besides this? Now can I continue where we left? So we are doing Canto 1, Chapter 8, Text 31. That is verse 31 onwards, alright? So, my dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflowed with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid. Though fear personified is afraid of you, this sight is bewildering to me. It's a play. It's a divine play, as we call it. So Krishna is acting like a child, and Yashoda had one day tied him up, if you remember. She had tied it that what we used to grind or mixer grinder purane zamane ka, where we would separate the rice from the or pound it. So she had bound him round this because he was a very naughty child. He used to do all sorts of mischief every now and then. And he had cried his heart out at that time. And he had shown all his very funny eyes to his mother saying that, see what you are doing to me. It's all funny, Why? Because you can't bind him. You can't bind Krishna except with the thread of love. You know that? Yes, that is it. Beyond that, you can't bind him with anything. So he had cried his heart out, and his eyes had washed away the kajal. Unfortunately, these people write their mascara. I don't know how that mascara comes into the frame. But Kajal, even as a child, I don't know, you have also been put a lot of Kajal, as a child. ऐसा माँ लेके लगाती थी ये इधर टीप के लिए. And here he was showing his mother how much afraid he is. Whereas everybody should be afraid of him. But see the other way around, how he creates these illusions in the world. So, do you remember who is talking? Kunti is talking. Yes. So, Kunti is telling Krishna, this is what you have done. Some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of the pious kings, and others say he is born to please King Yadu. One of your dearest devotee. You appear in this family as sandalwood appears in the Malaya hills. Remember, he has come in this Yadu Vansh. Correct? Do you remember in one of the stories he has mentioned that in the Bhagavad Gita he has mentioned clearly that he was his previous ancestor was taught. Huh? It is not Bhagavad Gita. I think it is Uddhav Gita. His ancestor was taught by the Avadhuta himself.
Dattatreya.
Correct.
Yep.
So it's all continuation. यहाँ वहाँ सब story का इधर उधर linkages है. Or maybe they can have Superman 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Krishna 1, 2, 3, 4. So he has appeared before also. Now also he is appearing, and he is going to keep on appearing time and again. So he is unborn, and yet he keeps on being born again and again. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly you are unborn. Yet you take your birth from the welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. So Kunti is telling him, let's see, I understand that you are the unborn. Why unborn? Because actually he appears in everybody, but we do not understand that he is there within us. Correct? So he is unborn, and yet he is born in all our bodies, isn't it? But how can you say he is born in the bodies? He is not born at all. Existing, constant, always there. But taking up a body. He is always assuming a form, taking up some form. Now think about it. Who are you if the question is asked? The question that is, who are you? You can't say you are XYZ, your name or something like that. You cannot say these words because it still doesn't explain who you are. So if you keep on dissecting this information, finally you will come to a stage where you will not be able to understand who you are. And then you will say, maybe I don't know. But you are there, are you not? So that means you exist. So the existence is there. Do you believe in your own existence? So you will say, yes, I believe in my own existence. Okay? And are you disturbed by anything? So you will say, see, the body gets disturbed, but I may not get disturbed. Sometimes I get into trouble because the body is sick or somebody says something to me. But otherwise, maybe not. So the term which Padma has written just now, Sat Chit Ananda, that is also what describes him as well. So, an unborn, yet born, yet taking up bodies, still, how does he appear? He appears as if like a child and as if like a man, later on a man. So you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare. For the welfare, if you remember in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, I take birth only for
Dharma Samstapana.
To establish the dharma.
Correct. So he says very clearly why he has to take birth. Kunti is also saying so that the welfare of the human beings happens. What is the welfare? What is it that is the highest welfare that a person can ever get? Tell me. See, if you actually look at it, what is the welfare that a man can look at? What is the welfare?
To attain God realization.
Exactly. Beyond that, there are no nothing of welfare. The muted. And to kill those who are envious of the demigods. So kill those who are envious of the demigods. Again, you see, demigods who are going to appear, all the forms, all these various forms that are going to appear, whether it is Ram or Krishna or whoever, all the forms that are there, they are nothing but a form of his. Demigod is some small form of his, Amsh, maybe. And what does he do when he comes? If you remember, he comes as Narsimha avatar to kill Hiranyakashipu. Correct? Likewise, he comes to kill Ravan. Then he comes to kill Kams, Shishupal, so on and so forth. So in every form, he comes so that he can do the welfare of the human beings and finish off the stories of Asuras. Yes. Others say that the world being overburdened like a boat at sea is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you have appeared to diminish the trouble. Overpopulation, is it overburdened? The world is becoming heavier. Can you imagine the world becoming heavier? It may fall down one of these days. Very actually, what he is trying to say is people are burdensome to the society. Okay, so there are a lot of these negative energies which are burdensome on the society. He has to come so that he can reduce those numbers. He has his child, his son, is Brahmaji himself. So Brahmaji is also getting into trouble many a times. Now you remember in this particular serial he is giving a boon to one of the asuras. They don't have choices, they have to give boons. See, if you are qualifying for something, you better get that thing, isn't it? So that is the reason why. So you have appeared to diminish the trouble. And yet others say that you appear to rejuvenate the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so on, in order that the conditioned soul suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. So, if you remember, there is one question which Guru had asked. So, once I do this line, I will ask him to say that question so that we can finish. I have forgotten about it. Okay, I'm sorry. And yet others say that you have appeared to rejuvenate the devotional service. The devotional service keeps on dwindling as the yugas pass on. If you remember, in the first yuga, people were only praising the Lord because all of them were realized beings, so everybody was praising the Lord only. They used to perform yagyas and all the rites, ceremonies, stuff like that, which were meant only for the Lord Himself. And as the yugas passed by one, so all the negative energy started climbing more and more. And today is a Kali Yuga where we are actually sitting. People have forgotten God. Actually, in today's one of the articles that I read, they are trying to do a mapping of a 350 million year old creature. So when you have scientists doing the mapping of these kind of creatures, or then you will really wonder, he is just, if you think that this story has happened 6,000 years ago and there were Rakshasas and demons and stuff like that, why there weren't any during that time? Isn't it very strange? So you will find that this diminishing of the devotional service has happened, and we are not able to overcome this. You will find that nobody believes in God nowadays. Last week I was explaining that In the United States, there's 20% of the population, entire population is atheist. So there is no God in their world at all. So if you actually look at it, more than 50% of this world's population would be atheistic. So that devotional service comes back into the picture, he is taking birth. So some people say that he takes birth most of the time because of different reasons. So people will remember, they will worship him, so that people will understand how to go towards the path of realization. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities, or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. So, what are the methodologies that are mentioned in the some of the methods which they are mentioned is you can listen to the stories also. You can yourself say them, you can listen to the stories, you can chant the name of the Lord, you can repeat his, when I'm sure, most of the people in the around us, you will find that when the child asks them the stories, can you tell me some story, they will mostly repeat the stories of God himself. कि एक बार ऐसा राजा था, रानी थी, so on and so forth. So we keep on telling stories. Then what are the other things that you do? When others are saying, when others tell us the stories, we remember the Lord. So these are various methodologies used wherein you can reach the devotional service. You can. And then you can see his lotus feet. And then, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. The moment you reach this stage of the devotional service, then what happens? There is neither birth nor death for you. So that one question which Guru had asked, Guru, can you just tell me the question, because I can't open that.
Yeah, the question was based on the post that you had written a few days back, where you had encouraged people to fight against Maya and not take a weaker stance. So my question was, even when a person surrenders to the feet of Lord, he is in a way accepting destiny. But that somehow doesn't seem to be a weaker stance to me. So I wanted to understand, just accepting destiny, but accepting destiny in a form of surrender to God, how do you differentiate that?
See, destiny means a fixed path. It's a fixed path. It's like point A to point B. The moment you are born till you die, the destiny is at play, which we call as a prarabdha karma. Karma is nothing but the ball has started to roll and it is anyway going to roll down the hill. There are no options to it. It started rolling any which way. Gravity is going to pull it down, and at the end of it is going to roll down the hill. So destiny keeps on happening. But when we do what is called as, when we go Sharanangat, when we surrender to the feet of the Lord, what happens is, they say that, when the stone is going down the hill, it is gathering a lot of moss, they say. Okay, it gathers a lot of karma also. And this karma is called agami, that is the futuristic karma. It is gathering a lot of things as it rolls down the hill. Once when you come in touch with the divine consciousness, with the Lord or the Guru, what happens is, he teaches you not only to overcome the agami doesn't affect you anymore after that. And then the past, which is called sanchit, is clearly eliminated. So there is neither the sanchit and nor the agami that is there in your kitty. Remember, all agami turns into sanchit. It has to be accumulated somewhere. Because in this life you have come only to spend the prarabdha, which is what you are supposed to. That is what we call destiny. Destiny will happen. All the things are going to continue. But when you surrender to the will of the Lord, at that time what happens is, the agami sanchit are eliminated, and because you are under the Chhatrachaya of the Lord or your Guru, because of that, you are able to withstand the problems associated with your current karma. That is prarabdha. Then let us say, for example, I used to give earlier example, like if you are going to fall down from top of a mountain or top of something, you could have broken your leg or some major injury would have happened. But because you are under the protection of God or the Guru, you are only scratched. Some little scratch will happen. Fall down you will. Definitely you are going to fall down because it is mentioned, so it has to happen. But you are cushioned. So the cushioning happens. Got it? So prarabdha is anyway going to be a part of your life. But because you have surrendered, this part of the agami or the sanchit getting eliminated and cushioning of the karma is going to happen. This will help you overcome a part of your destiny. So there is always cushioning. Got it? Yeah, when you surrender to the Lord, you are not accepting Maya, but you are confident that you will be secure no matter what happens. Yeah. See, by the way, there is no differentiation between Maya and the Lord. It is like if the Lord wants to take a form, he better use his Maya, otherwise he won't take a form. So it is as if she is the one who molds him into a form. There is neither she nor he. But for understanding, we are calling it she and he. Okay. One who gives shape would be the mother. We say always the mother, isn't it? So we consider this one who gives shape as Prakriti or the mother. So there is neither Maya nor Prakriti nor anybody. It's only the Lord himself. He is donned various roles. Okay. So if he has taken up so many roles, so it's nothing but his, like Padma has written, is a power. It's his potency. It's something that keeps on happening. Overriding Maya, first you accept it, okay? We do not want to accept Maya. That there is Maya at work, we don't want to accept. We think that, no, I can overcome Maya. No, first you got to accept. See, even in the battlefield, if you go to fight a battle, you better acknowledge your enemy first, okay? If you don't acknowledge, you will not understand how much he is worth, isn't it? Again, when you are in your college or school, if you don't acknowledge the one who keeps on coming first most of the time, you will not understand what is the kind of effort that you need to put in to overcome that, correct? So first you need to assess the powers. So first you acknowledge the power. So acknowledging Maya is very, very essential first. Acknowledge Maya, make her your friend. Don't make her your enemy. Panga nahi lene ka. You have to make her your friend and then you have to work towards overcoming her. When you are overcoming her, you have to make use of the devotional aspect. That is why here this book keeps on harping continuously devotional aspect, so that Maya can be overcome. We are going to come across various stories in this where Maya will be overcome by the grace of God. So, O Krishna, who continuously, okay, I have done this, so we will move to the next one. O my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today? Though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us. Now when all kings are at enmity with us. He is imploring Krishna, are you going away today? Kunti is imploring Krishna, are you actually going away today? Because Krishna has decided that now is time up for him to move back to his pavilion. He has to go back to Dwarka. So, are you leaving us today? Though we completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us. Now when all the kings are at enmity with us, that means you please understand that Yudhishthir has become the king, no doubt about it, but he still has to overcome the various kings in the kingdom. The entire India is still open for him to conquer. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and the Yadus, will end at once. So it is like imploring Krishna, please, आपका जो कृपा दृष्टि बोलते हैं उसको, कृपा दृष्टि हमारे ऊपर रखना हमेशा. So always ensure that that you are around us, taking care of us all the time. It is a prayer. O Gadadhar, our kingdom is now being marked by the impression of your feet, and therefore it appears beautiful. But when you leave, it will no longer be so. It's again a prayer saying that if you leave the kingdom and go away, though you have come to our place and आपके चरण कमल यहाँ पे गिरे हैं, इसीलिए you are, this place has become पावन भूमि, पवित्र भूमि हो गई है. But when you are going away, everything is going to become suna suna. So then what are we to do? All the cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and the grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the ocean full of wealth. All this is due to your glancing over them. Okay? Now, if you tell a person who is a faithless person, he will say, what are you talking? This cannot happen. See, the rains are coming, so the grains are there. The earth already has minerals in it. You see, this entire line can be chopped into pieces, The cities and villages are flourishing. Now you think about it, the economy is booming, the markets are doing well, all these things are happening. Then you will wonder, what is this that you are talking? It is basically the environment that is taking care of it. Or the market, the economy is doing well. No, attribution is a must. See, please understand, in our world, we do not stop for attribution. We have to attribute it to the Lord. We have to acknowledge it. We have to say to the Lord, you are the one who has done this to us. हम लोग क्या करते हैं, बच्चा पैदा हो गया, हम लोग घर में है ना धमाल मस्ती करते हैं, नामकरण करते हैं, and only when you have to actually do the naming ceremony, that time we remember the God. Otherwise nobody cares. They think it is the mother and the father who have done that job. No, God is not involved. No, here you got to acknowledge that the Lord is involved in this. O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, O personality of the form of the universe, please therefore sever my ties of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vishnus. So our attachments keep on growing as we keep on working in this world. So she is telling Krishna, kindly ensure that these attachments do not remain with us. O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganga flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn up unto you without being diverted to anyone else. So can I have the single-pointed devotion for you? O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, O chief among the descendants of Vishnu, you are the destroyer of these political parties, which are disturbing elements on the earth. Imagine there were political parties at that time also. Can you imagine this? I mean, this is very funny because it is not a question of political parties. There were no political parties at that time. They were basically different sects. Like we have the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and all that. That time they were there. And then like today we have associations and all that. Maybe they had the association. But political parties, there was only one king boss. There were no political parties then. But okay, fine, we'll accept it. So these are disturbing elements on this earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode, and you designed to relieve the distress of the cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees. You possess all mystic powers, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are Almighty God, and I offer you my respectful obeisance. So she's again praying to him. She's telling him, you have come on this earth so that you can relieve the distress of cows, brahmanas, devotees, so on and so forth. Sutta Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayer of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words of his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. Thus, accepting the prayers of Srimati Kunti Devi, the Lord subsequently informed other ladies of his departure by entering the palace of his Hastinapur. But upon preparing to leave, he was stopped by King Yudhishthir, who implored him lovingly. King Yudhishthir, who was much aggrieved, could not be convinced, despite instructions by the great sages, headed by Vyas and Lord Krishna himself, the performer of superhuman feats, and despite all historical evidence. So when Krishna goes, naturally it is the rule that you have to go to the ladies' quarters also and tell them that I am leaving. They do not come outside, so he has gone over there and he was telling them. And then he meets Yudhishthir on the way, and Yudhishthir is very much disturbed by what is happening. He says, why are you going? At that time even Vyas Muni is also over there. King Yudhishthir, son of Dharma, overwhelmed by the death of his friend, was aggrieved just like a common materialistic man. O sages, thus deluded by affection, he began to speak. I have killed, King Yudhishthir said, O my lord, I am the most sinful man. Just see my heart which is full of ignorance. This body which is ultimately meant for others has killed many phalanxes of men. I have killed many boys, brahmanas, well-wishers, friends, parents, preceptors and brothers. Though I live millions of years, I will not be relieved from the hell that awaits me for all these sins. This is something which he is acknowledging, that he has committed a sin. Those who are the true devotees of the Lord know and understand that it is the Lord who is working through them. So where is the question of committing any sin? If you say that I have committed a sin, isn't it the Lord who is responsible for this? So Yudhishthir is still not on the path. Please understand this. Yudhishthir was never given this knowledge. So that is the reason why he is saying this word. There is no sin for a king who kills for the right cause, who is engaged in maintaining his citizens. But this injunction is not applicable to me. He says there are kings who fight for justice, but that is not applicable to me. I have killed many friends or women, and I have thus caused enmity to such an extent that it is not possible to undo it by material welfare work. So even if I do some material welfare work, that means, we are supposed to help the society so that we can overcome the sins that we have caused. What do you call that thing? क्या करते हैं हम लोग उस चीज को? सोसाइटी में जाके काम धंधा करना पड़ता है ताकि है ना हमारा सिंस थोड़ा कम हो जाए. कम्युनिटी सर्विस में प्रायश्चित रिपेंटेंस वी आर गोइंग. कम्युनिटी सर्विस तो अमेरिका में होता होगा यार. इंडिया में क्या क्या कम्युनिटी, क्या क्या सर्विस. हमने इंडिया में प्रॉक्सी में होता है. तू मेरी भी जाके कर जा. Just like somebody else can write your examination. So here it is a part and parcel of our world where I have to overcome these problems which are created in the material world. I have to do service to the mankind. It's like a prayashchit. As it is not possible to filter muddy water through the mud or purify a wine-stained pot with wine, it is not possible to counteract the killing of men by sacrificing animals. Who sacrifices animals? This is like, remember, animals are sacrificed in different places. If you remember, we had gone to Calcutta where in the Kali Mandir, they kill the animals. Most of these places they do. Even today in India it is done. So, I guess even abroad, of course, you will find that mostly in South America, Central America and all, Africa, there were a lot of animal sacrifices and human sacrifices also performed during ancient times. So that ends the chapter. Do you have any questions so far? In this chapter, there was one very important thing that was mentioned. Kunti says that Can you give me all the possible problems in this world so that I can remember your name even in my future lives? Okay. So remembering the name of the Lord, devotional service starts with the name also. Yes. Somebody wanted to say something. Vrishnis is one of the community, like we have Yadus are there, Vrishnis are there. During ancient times they were. Hmm?
It's a clan.
Kurus, yes. Kurus and Pandavas, Pandu, his clan is called. So like that, Vishnu. It doesn't.
Is Kunti aware that she will come in multiple lives, or why is she asking this boon?
Okay. So first I'll take Guru's question. Yes, asked, how does killing animal sacrifices clear our sins? It is a belief. It's a belief. Maybe you can have chicken biryani, maybe you can have later on, lamb chops or something like that. But it's a belief, since ancient times the belief has been there. If you do animal sacrifices or sacrifice some, these are purified first, by the way. They do their puja. Somebody's, this thing is on. There's an echo. So, the killing of the animals or sacrifices does not take away the sins. But it is mentioned in the scriptures that you can offer animals to the God. In ancient times, there was livestock farming was a very, very big activity. Got it? Today we don't have livestock. We have cows roaming on the streets, which nobody knows who, where, and whom they belong to. Incidentally, I was reading an article last month where it was mentioned that in the city of Delhi, they they catch hold of so many cows and take them directly for slaughter so that they can be, you know, used for the purpose. Because per cow, the person gets some 20,000 or something like that. So whoever captures these cows, they get so much amount of money. So in India, in Delhi, in the streets of Delhi, they have these cow, maybe rancher types of people.
So it's counterproductive, Guruji. That itself may accrue more sin.
Yes.
So,
But here the killing of the cows or the killing of the animals, not cows, but the killing of the other animals, livestock and all, that was a part and parcel of our ancient rituals. Today we don't advise such type of things because it's not worthy enough. You know, it's inhuman basically. That is why you have get halal meat nowadays. So, but it doesn't override the sin. Let me assure you this much. It will never override the sin. क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं है कि कांटे से कांटा निकाला जा सकता है. Even during the time of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, rituals were performed in. There were a couple of temples in Calcutta also where these type of rituals used to happen. There is this Kali Kalkatte wali bolte hain. In that temple it happens. Even today it happens.
Dakshineshwar.
No, Dakshineshwar.
No, sorry, Dakshin Kali.
Dakshin Kali is in Nepal.
Yeah.
We are talking about Calcutta. In Calcutta there is a Kali temple. Okay. We say Kali Kalkatte wali. It's a temple where they perform these kind of acts. Yes, it is done. It is nothing but beliefs. And these beliefs have come because of certain reasons, some past stories and stuff like that. How is that's his aunt? It's a distant aunt. They are cousins, so they are related to each other. Okay. Should we start the next chapter? It is chapter 9. Do we have time, or we can do, no? We can start? Huh? Alright. Chapter 9. The passing away of Bhishma Dev in the presence of Lord Krishna. Chapter 9. So, Bhishma, who is lying in the battlefield, if you remember the story, we have come up to this point where he is lying in the battlefield. He has got Ichha Mrityu. He can die whenever he wants to. He can pull his plug himself, by the way. Okay. So, Sutta Goswami said, being afraid of having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthir went to the scene of the massacre. There Bhishma Dev was lying on a bed of arrows, about to pass away. At that time all his brothers followed him with the beautiful chariots drawn by first-class horses, decorated with golden ornaments. With them were Vyasdev and rishis like Dhaumya and learned priests of Pandava and others. O sage among the Brahmanas, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, also followed seated in a chariot with Arjuna. Thus King Yudhishthir appeared very aristocratic, like Kubera, surrounded by his companions. Kubera is basically a demon. He comes from this Guhyakas. You remember Guhyakas and all, we have done that in the Bhagavad Gita? Gandharvas and Kinnaras and Guhyakas. So he comes from these Guhyakas. Alright? Seeing him, Bhishma lying on the ground like a demigod fallen from the sky, the Pandava king Yudhishthir, along with the younger brothers and Lord Krishna, bowed down before him. Just to see the chief of the descendant of King Bharata, Bhishma, all the great souls of the universe, namely the rishis among the demigods, Brahmanas and kings, all situated in the quality of goodness, were assembled there. All the sages like the Parvata Muni, Narada, Dhaumya, Vyas, incarnation of God, Bhradasva, Bhardwaj, and Parshuram, and his disciples. Vashishta, Indra, Pramada, Trita, Bhrismada, Asita, Taksivan, Gautama, Atri, Kaushika, and Sudarshana were all present. Now please understand, all these rishis are not from this domain. Okay? They are all different yugas. Different transactions are happened. So many millions of years must have gone by. But just the way I was able to see two people in my world. You remember the story, no? I was telling you all that
Sri Ram and Pashuram.
I was able to meet Tukaram and
Naneshwar. Yeah.
simultaneously. I was a party to listening to their conversation. Now you may wonder, how can these people be existing now? One was 600 years ago and one was 400 years ago. So 400 and 600 definitely talks of a long period in time. But no, it is like this. In the spiritual domain, it is possible to meet different people from the different yugas simultaneously. So that is the reason why all these mentioned over here. And many others like Sukdev Goswami and other purified souls, Kashyapa and Angirasa and others, all accompanied by their respective disciples, arrived there. Bhishma Dev, who was the best among the 8 Vasus. We have done 8 Vasus in the Bhagavad Gita. So he is one among the 8 Vasus. One of the demigods, okay? Received and welcomed all the greats and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. So Bhishma had the clear understanding. That means even when he was about to die, his mind was very clear. He understood everybody. He was lying on those bed of arrows. Literally, you can imagine like a pincushion, something like that. Lord Sri Krishna is situated in everybody's heart. Yet he manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. See how many times these words have kept on coming, He is in the heart and yet he is ascending over there. This very Lord was sitting before Bhishma, and since Bhishma knew of his glories, he worshipped him duly. The son of Maharaj Pandu was sitting silently nearby, overtaken with affection for their dying father. Seeing this, Bhishma Dev congratulated them with feeling. There were fears of ecstasy in his eyes and he was overwhelmed by love and affection. Bhishma Dev said, Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustice you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under these tribulations. Yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God, and religion. Bhishma is now going to talk. So he is going to now talk to everybody over there. So he's telling everybody around over there how difficult it is even to live in this world. To face all these atrocities that have happened. Can you imagine doing something wrong, killing somebody, and then living in that dread all your life? Can you think about it? You have done something wrong, something which has gone against the grain. How can you live like that for many years? So he is pitying everybody around over there. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal also because of your action. So he is telling Yudhishthira and everybody around over there, Kunti, who is my daughter-in-law, when she is concerned, she has undergone terrible pains even during her childhood. And then as she grew up and got married to King Pandu and so on and so forth. And now again, she is feeling all these problems because of the problems that you have created. Who has created? Remember the entire dice story. Okay, the game, the pulling of the hairs of Draupadi and so on and so forth. So all this has happened. In my opinion, this is all due to the inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. We are all driven by Kal. He keeps on driving us. Kal also is destiny. We are also driven by destiny, and destiny is something that keeps on happening continuously. Life after life after life after life. Remember, it's the prarabdha karma, we come with prarabdha in every life of ours, but the sanchit is always there. How wonderful is the influence of inevitable time. It is irreversible. However, how can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhishthira, the son of the demigod controlling religion? Bhima, the great fighter with a club, the great bowman Arjuna with the mighty weapon Gandiva, and above all the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas. O King, no one can know the plan of Lord Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. People always have these very strange ideas that I think I know what God wants of me. It's not possible to know. You may think that ऐसा होने वाला है. God proposes. Man proposes and God disposes बोलते हैं ना. तो गॉड के प्रपोजल में हम लोग कुछ हस्तक्षेप नहीं कर सकते. वो कैसे करता है, क्यों करता है, किस लिए करता है, कैन नेवर बी अंडरस्टूड बाय एनीबॉडी. So even we may try to dissect God, it's impossible to understand how he does things. It's all very, very wonderful, His leelas are absolutely aparampar. We don't understand how he does those things. So even though great philosopher inquire extensively, in one of the verses that we did, okay, I'll just quote the verse. I was doing the verse with some people in the morning today. So let us see this verse over here where he says, others who follow the path, this is verse 15, chapter 9, Bhagavad Gita. Others who follow the path of knowledge betake themselves to me through their offering of knowledge, worshipping me in my absolute formless aspect as one with themselves. While still, others worship me in my universal form in many ways, taking me to be diverse in diverse celestial forms. So the first part of this para is telling you that there are lots of these jnanis, who dissect me. They dissect me into small, small bits and they try to analyze me. Krishna. They try to analyze God and they try to say, I know who you are. I can understand what you are up to. There is nothing which you can understand. How can you dissect something like that? You cannot answer that. It's impossible. So they are bewildered. O best among the descendants of Bharata, Yudhishthira, I maintain therefore that all this is within the plan of the Lord. Accepting the inconceivable path of the Lord, you must follow it. You are now the appointed administrative head, and my lord, you should now take care of the subjects who are now rendered helpless. So what is he trying to tell Yudhishthir? Yudhishthir has come over there and he is telling Yudhishthir, see, now that you have become the king of this particular land, please understand you are at the mercy of two things. One is time. Okay, constantly time is moving ahead, and destiny. It's always going to be happening continuously. But all this is controlled by the Divine Lord Himself. So he says, please acknowledge these things and maintain therefore that all this is within the plan of the Lord. Accepting the inconceivable plan of the Lord, you must follow it. First, you got to accept it. In our life, we all get into trouble because we do not want to accept. We always want to fight. We always want to be a big, thorn. We want to say, ki, nahi, ye main nahi karunga. But destiny is going to make you do those things. This Sri Krishna is none other than the inconceivable, original personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayana, the supreme enjoyer. He is moving among the descendant of King Vishnu just like one of us, and he is bewildering us with his self-created energy. Isn't this the verse that we did just now? So, who is he? He is the inconceivable, original, supreme divine consciousness. Number one. He is the first Narayana. Remember, he has to take form in the first divine manifest. Correct? Second divine unmanifest, two first divine unmanifest. In the first divine unmanifest, he takes the form of Narayan. And then all the remaining gods that are there. Narayan is the supreme enjoyer. Why is he called the supreme enjoyer? Because he creates objects through his son. That was mentioned in the previous lines. But he is moving among the descendants. And now he is over here. He is a descendant of the Rishni clan. And he is bewildering us with his self-created energy. And he is confusing us, okay, with his Maya. Okay, he has taken a form just now and he is standing bang in front of us and he is creating all sorts of illusions for us. O King, Lord Shiva, Narada, the sage among the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all know very confidently about his glories through direct contact. Kapila Muni, we have done, remember, Kapila had to teach his mother, Devahuti. Alright? Anyway, that chapter is there, or have we finished it? I think we have just cursorily done it. So, he says, Narad Muni, Shiva, Kapila Muni, all these people have personally known Sri Krishna himself. O King, that personality whom out of ignorance only you thought to be your maternal cousin, your dear friend, well-wisher, counselor, messenger, benefactor, etc., is that very personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. So, he is very clear, even at the time of death. His mind is so clear. Whose mind is clear? Bhishma Pitama's mind. And he understands very clearly that this person who is standing in front of me, who is Krishna, is the same one as that we are talking about. We'll do up to 25, okay? And then we will start. Being the absolute personality of Godhead, he is present in everybody's heart. He is equally kind to everyone and he is free from the false ego of differentiation. Therefore, whatever he does is free from material inability. He is equibalanced. This is the same thing which we did yesterday also, where you cannot say he is partial. He is impartial. He doesn't do any partiality. He is clear. Like the sun, he shines on everybody equally. It is you who can take it or not take it. So he is equibalanced. Yet despite his being equally kind to everyone, he has graciously come before me while I am ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. The personality of Godhead who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation and by chanting of the holy name. These are the various techniques that you can do yourself. devotional service, meditation you can do the chanting of the holy name, releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of quitting his material body. All these are going to help you in overcoming your life after life after life coming and going. My Lord, who is four-handed and whose beautifully decorated lotus face, with eyes as red as the rising sun, is smiling. Kindly await me at that moment when I quit this material body. So he is telling Krishna, you in the form of Sri Krishna, with the four arms, you are waiting for me over there to receive me. So I am happy that I am here standing in front of you, looking at you. I will pass on from this domain to that domain where I shall meet you again. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Yudhishthira, after hearing Bhishmadev speak in the appealing tone, asked him in presence of the great rishis what the essential principles of the various religious duties. So here we will stop over here, and because Yudhishthira is going to ask certain questions to the Lord, to Lord Bhishma. Because Bhishma, please remember, he is just like Chanakya. Chanakya was the person who was teaching. Who? Chanakya? Or you don't know?
Ashok.
Chandragupta Maurya.
Chandra.
Not Ashoka. Chandragupta.
Yeah, not
Chandragupta. So he was teaching Chandragupta. Likewise, over here, Yudhishthira is going to get political and other knowledge about how to rule the kingdom. Okay, from Vishnu. Because remember, he was king himself, alright? And used to rule the kingdom on behalf of his brother. So this ends our text 25, Canto 1, Chapter 9. Alright, we will do from here tomorrow. Any questions so far?
Guru had question on why Kunti wanted to come again rather than merging with the Lord.
See, merging with the Lord is one aspect which requires what is called as devotional service to the Lord. Okay? There are two aspects to it. First, one of you has to mute them, this thing, please. What you got to do is this. If you want to completely dissolve, that means in the first divine unmanifest, you will be reaching the state of Brahma. Okay? Completely dissolving over there, you don't have to come back again. But if you are from the domain of Sri Krishna himself, then what happens is, there is no question of realization, there is no question of reaching the self, there is no question of doing anything for that matter. So you go to this, what we call as the second divine unmanifest, which also goes under the name of Goloka. So you go to the Goloka, and whenever he wants to play cricket, he will bring his team, no? So likewise, whenever Krishna wants to come, he comes with his entire entourage. So he comes with his full film ka pura, director, producer, ये वो spot boys से लेके सब जन. तो उसका पूरा story लिखना जरूरी है. So what happens is, Kunti is telling him that I want to be a part of your entourage always, and I want to play the same role again and again and again. See, you have to be mahir actually, an adept with that role. See, today you are doing one role and tomorrow I give you some other role. One role may require comedy, one role may require tragedy. Imagine करो एक comedy role कर रहा है, फिर next day tragedy कर रहा है, थोड़ा problem आएगा कि नहीं आएगा? Okay, like what Brito was talking. He doesn't know whether he has gone to see Batman or he has gone to see Superman, because both look the same now. Because the director is the same, the actor is also supposedly the same, And the music is also the same. So he was wondering whether he had actually gone to see Superman or Batman. Now think about it. If you are going to do a role which is one day comedy and the next day is tragedy, you will be making people laugh when you are supposed to make them cry. Okay. तो बोलेगा मेरा बाबा मर गया. You know that one particular movie was there. Okay. अरे वो कॉमेडी हो जाएगा तुम्हारा. So समझ में आया? So what Kunti is saying, can I do the same role again and again? So every time when you come, you give me all the trouble possible in this world, you know. जितना emotion, जितना एकदम excitement या जो कुछ भी है ना, वो सब आएगा ना, then I will remember your name constantly. This means that this is a very beautiful technique, wherein when you get into trouble, you see, when you don't have troubles, you will never remember the Lord. But when you have enough troubles on your head, you are going to constantly imagine, you know, if you have seen these old ladies, they say Ram, 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 Ram. Every now and then they just keep on saying Ram, 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 Ram. Because everything happening in their world, they keep on saying Ram, Ram, Ram. Same way, you are going to keep on saying Krishna, 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 always. Why? Because too many troubles know what to do. इमेजिन करना कृष्णा और डॉट है बीच में, मतलब तू तो कृष्णा ऐसा, but you are anyway taking his name. So even when you are in trouble, you are going to take his name, and that is why she asks constantly, can I be born again and again? That means, can I be a part of your entourage? I don't want realization. See, in the Bhagavad Gita, what he says, you know, there is a very beautiful verse where Krishna tells you clearly, if you are coming to me directly with your love and devotion, faith, surrendering to me constantly, I will ensure that you will also get realization if you want it. But tell me something, बिग बॉस का चमचा बनने का अच्छा है कि रियलाइजेशन करके डिसॉल्व होके जाने का? You see, when you are going to keep on coming, you know, you are going to keep on eating, थोड़ा सा इधर से उधर से खाना तो मिलेगा कि नहीं? बड़ा बॉस के साथ आता है तो उसका पर्क्स भी अपने को मिलता है ना थोड़ा बहुत. Yeah, exactly, you are eternal like him. So it is exactly like this. So Kunti is very smart. So she says, when you come, I will also want to come. Okay, yeah. Any more? No? Then I
more. One more. Bhishma himself is a sage, right? So he's still with Duryodhan. He could have either corrected him or he could have joined Krishna, right? Why did he choose to be with Duryodhan?
Sir, if I am going to do a, you know, friendly match या unfriendly match, तो एक opposite team में डालना तो पड़ेगा कि नहीं? See, I can't have all the best players in the world in my opposite team not having good players, sir. So even when Krishna is doing his, you know, team formation, he ensures that this also happens, that they are equally balanced out teams. But you only think about it. Where Krishna is there, the team balance का होने वाला है क्या? He may be without his bow and arrow. He may be without anything, you know. But with the Superman on one side and the rest of the world on the other side, it's a very uneven combat, you know. So you may have a Bhishma Pitama, like Padma is duty bound. It's basically that he has to do it. It's a role. You see, everybody is performing a role. And the enactment of the role is, maybe sometimes you have to be Prem Chopra. Does not matter, you are just a role, sir. You know, in there was one film where Saif Ali Khan has acted like a villain. Okay, वो कुछ तो भी यूपी का एमपी का कुछ तो भी एक पिक्चर था. I don't remember the name of that film. Omkar. And he is going to do one more role of that kind. Now you can't say he is a hero, he can't do negative roles. Sir, he is going to do. Again, Shah Rukh Khan's first super hit film was a negative role. He was a villain in that film. You remember?
Bazigar.
Exactly. In Bazigar and that other movie where he, Kiran करके बोलता है वो. Deadly character. Yeah, Dar. Very deadly character, wasn't it? So he is a hero, and he can be a villain also. It's a role. So Bhishma, in the last, in the last 4 lines, what does he say? Everybody is performing the role as per what he has ordained. So don't worry about it. So Bhishma can come on the other side also, does not matter. Got it? Alright. So, okay. So we'll take a break. I will see you tomorrow. Okay?
Yeah. Right.
Bye. Take care. Have a good evening.